Deep in the Atlantic lies Ethel Island, an ecosystem entirely isolated since the Pleistocene. The environment is saturated with volcanic toxicity, creating a biological black box where evolution has been forced to write its own ruthless rules of survival. For decades, it was considered a navigational ghost, until a faint satellite anomaly caught the attention of a corporate documentary crew. Driven by the ambition of securing a global exclusive, they decided to force their way into this closed system. They arrived prepared to dominate the environment. The team deployed with armored helicopters, 8K cinema rigs, silent nano-sampler drones, and advanced LiDAR scanners designed to penetrate the dense canopy and map the terrain in 3 dimensions. The expedition assumed they could use superior technology to passively document the terrain. But Ethel Island operates as a single, highly sensitive organism, and it actively treats any outside intrusion as a lethal infection. The island's immune response registers the intruders the moment they step off the shore. Look closely at these pale green crystalline blades. While they mimic standard coastal vegetation, this is actually a highly evolved biological detection grid. This plant is known as tripwire grass. When physical pressure is applied, like the weight of a heavy expedition boot, these fiber optic-like filaments do not bend. Instead, they violently shatter and rapidly retract straight down into the soil. The shattering of the grass blade acts as a mechanical alarm. The snapping action creates an intense vibration, broadcasting a sharp acoustic warning deep into the forest to alert the local apex predators to the exact coordinates of the disturbance. Within minutes of making landfall, the human expedition lost the element of surprise. The ecosystem successfully registered the foreign contaminants and initiated its active countermeasures. Moving inland, the jungle canopy thickens. These massive ash-bark trees survive in soil flooded with sulfur and iron. The flora here thrives by metabolizing the volcanic heavy metals as a primary fuel source. To manage toxicity, the ecosystem relies on the siphon lily. Notice the dark, hollow basin constructed of polished stone, sitting directly in the center of these large orange petals. The roots actively filter streams, depositing solid, concentrated iron into this central bowl. Other plants then weaponize those extracted minerals. The iron fern, a dense, low-growing ground cover, pulls that concentrated iron straight into its vascular structure, producing a root network that is tough, fibrous, and nearly impossible to break. The ecosystem strings its secondary defense between these hardened ferns, the razor web. This invisible network of highly abrasive magnetic fibers holds immense tension, slicing clean through military-grade rubber boots and flesh with ease. Ethel Island uses the extreme toxicity of its own soil to forge physical, metallic barricades. It engineers dismemberment traps designed specifically to cripple the mobility of large, heavy-footed intruders. Beyond these physical barriers, the environment poses a different challenge: the breakdown of cognitive stability and physical senses. In the deeper ravines, the expedition encounters whisper blooms. When approached, these pale, bell-shaped flowers actively broadcast a continuous, low-frequency distress signal. Because this sonic frequency sits entirely below the threshold of human hearing, the brain cannot identify a source. The body simply absorbs the severe acoustic vibrations, triggering spontaneous vertigo and sudden, crippling waves of irrational panic. If intruders manage to push through the physiological panic, the island removes visual trust entirely. This animated model shows the mirror palm, an indigenous frond coated in a specialized matrix of biological crystals. The geometry reflects light at a 90-degree angle, creating a flawless optical illusion of solid ground to hide deep, excavated sinkholes. The ecosystem effectively overrides human rationality. By weaponizing subaudible sound and bending light for false terrain, the island renders high-end cameras in human eyesight completely useless. Beneath the sinkholes lies a massive bioluminescent cavern system. Here, the island houses its apex defense mechanism, a highly specialized fungus known as the Gloom spore. The spore functions as an airborne respiratory agent. In nature, its biological purpose is to hyper-accelerate the decomposition of heavy elements, dissolving wood and metallic compounds with extreme efficiency. When inhaled by a human, the spore attacks the nervous system. It triggers a violent onset of dementia, hijacking the victim's cognition by aggressively swapping decades-old memories with the present moment. It operates as a perfect internal weapon. The spore consumes the host's organs from the inside out, slowly paralyzing the body while leaving the victim fully conscious, trapped in their own mind, and unable to even close their eyes. The pathogen's reach extends to an entirely isolated indigenous civilization living in the deep caverns. Look at this massive cavern space, known as the Ward of the Dying. Illuminated only by pale green moss, infected tribal members are laid out on woven mats, left completely motionless as the spore hollows them out. The tribe mounts no resistance. They dedicate zero resources to fighting the infection or engineering a cure. Instead, they have fully submitted to the pathogen, worshipping the Gloom spore and accepting their agonizing consumption as a sacred fate. That absolute submission provides a sharp contrast to the documentary crew above. The modern team arrived with heavy armor, global ambitions, and the strict expectation that they could commodify the landscape on their own terms. Athel Island proves that advanced technology does not guarantee survival. In an isolated, hostile crucible, humans are not the apex predators. We are a foreign organism, and nature will engineer whatever it takes to neutralize the threat.